So we've got the makings of a revolutionary red sunset, and I'm going to take you back to the Formula 1 sector where we left off this morning. Okay, I'm still on the Committee of 300 or the Club of 300. I do not care about the fine details of what you call it. It's a fascist grouping, and this is the English speaking world, the German speaking world, and the Italian speaking world. There's not many tyrants released into the world news since Berlusconi packed up, but when you see that they've still got kings and queens listed and you've got this link of this man with the curly hair that looks like some of my mates from Moorball yeah, with links to the Scots, you find that he's a New Yorker. That's the Empire State. There's John ELKAN. He does not have antlers, but he is a massive financial presence globally. Okay, his wife is Boromir, and he's got the holdings in all of the Formula 1 stables: Alfa Romeo, Abarth, Lancia, Maserati. When I was in Hertfordshire, right next to the Ashridge College, where the elites are trained in financial services fraud, that was formed, Ashridge College, by Bonar Law, the Canadian Prime Minister in Britain. Okay, and it's a massive triumph for the Rothschilds and their thieves and killers. Okay, yeah. So I accidentally scraped the side of an Alfa Romeo in the pub car park near Ashridge College, and I went into the pub as an innocent and I asked, who owns the Alfa Romeo outside? I need to report that I have scratched your vehicle and I need to pay for it from my insurance fund. This is the innocent that is now confronting the criminals, yeah, in the Alfa Romeo racing sector. Abarth, Lancia, Maserati, Ferrari, and in July 2011 he acquired John Philip Jacob ELKAN Chrysler, the all-American factories for cars, which also owns the Jeep, the Dodge, the Ram and the Mopar. And I remember Gordon Bowden being totally dedicated to revealing for me the ownership of the trucks that we used to use in the military. I forget what the name of the English equivalent were, yeah, but I believe that Gordon Bowden told me, oh, Land Rover, the owners of Land Rover, and this is a scandal, are Indians. Dodge, Ram and Mopar brands. He is the chairman of Fiat and the chairman and CEO of Exor, an investment company controlled by the Agnelli family, which owns Juventus Football Club, Cushman and Wakefield and SGS. Berlusconi owns, I think it is one of the clubs in the north of Italy, AC Milan, or the other football club from Milan, yeah, who I think Celtic played in the cup final. Yeah, so these are massive magnets. They're in the super elite racing sector, and that then takes us to the next tab. We could go a little bit further down and see if we've got anything. ELKAN, oh, this is instructive. So this is about his education. ELKAN attended primary school in the UK and in Brazil before his family moved to Paris, where he obtained a baccalaureate scientifique at the state school Lycée Victor Duroy in 1994. Later the same year he moved to Italy to attend Politecnico di Turin, where he graduated with a degree in management engineering in 2000. As a result of his international upbringing, he is fluent in 4 languages. The genius concept, okay? While pursuing his degree in management engineering, ELKAN gained work experience through several internships, headlight plant in Birmingham, England, where the Royal Hospital is, and Malala was treated, production line in Tichy, Poland, 1997, car dealership in Lille, France, the lilies of the field joke and the road to Amiens jokes, yeah, and the road to Rouen joke. And also at GE's, that's General Electric's, as big as they come in the fraud and massive ownership sector, GE's, CIG's Corporate Initiatives Group, where he worked on a thesis on e-auctions. And I've told you about how in the fine art e-auctions they have a team of sellers and a team of buyers, and every time the ordinary people cannot afford to keep bidding, the team of buyers keeps raising the price for their stock, and everybody gets a pay bonus and nobody gets to own any of the art treasures at a reasonable price. Okay, enough on that person. Yeah, can you see that the international peer pressure that Rupert Murdoch and Prince Charles are given through Geelong School in Australia into St Andrews and into all of the elite events like Gordonstown? Yeah, it is massive. I think that, oh no, we've got more. In September, ELKAN married the Italian Countess Lavinia Borromeo on the Isola Madre and the Borromean islands of Lake Maggiore. The reception held on nearby Isola Bella featured a 5-metre-long chocolate cake depicting the Lingotto car plant of Turin and a fucking unicorn, the symbol for the Arthurian legends, written also by the Italian popes. The heraldic symbol of the Borromeo family, and a guest list including Henry Kissinger, Mario Monti from the ECB, Michel Platini, I forget what he was, football player in the Italian superstar regime, Valentino Garavini, Carla Bruni and Elle Macpherson, the supermodel. Their first child was a boy named Leon, Italian for lion, the Piso Menagerie, and the Lion of Judah, the rival in the Judaish religion for Jesus Christ. In the Christianity fraud, was born in August 2006. On 12th November 2007, Mrs. ELKAN, a very down-to-earth expression, gave birth to the couple's second boy, Oceano, Italian for ocean. Their third child is a girl named Vita, Italian for life, like the God-ficking father, the Corleones. Okay, and there is a list of his institutions and companies. Exor, Fiat, Chairman, Giovanni Agnelli, La Stampa, Chairman, Foundation, Giovanni Agnelli, Vice Chairman, Italian Aspen Institute, Vice Chairman, SGS Board Member. Yeah, that's General Electric, SGS Board Member, Fiat Industrial Board Member, Brookings Institution, IAC Member, Secret Society in America, like the Chatham House place and the royal affiliations that we talked about that sound a bit like the IRA for a laugh this morning. MoMA Trustees, the Economist Group Board Member, like the women on the boards of the Russell Group universities. Yeah, the woman from Bath University, I forget her name, who's on the board of all of those economist journals, the same years that the economy globally is crashed by the same people. Gruppo Banco Leonardo. Her name is Dame Helen Alexander. She runs the Economist magazines. She also runs the Rolls-Royce output. yeah, and loads of non-executive directorships as the boss at Bath University. And the boss of the student loans company is, sorry, she's at Bath, one's at Bath and one is at also down south on top of a hill. So Bath is the students loan company, and I've been an external examiner at the Dame Helen Alexander University, which is nearby, and I can't remember the name. Italy China Foundation board member. Yeah, so we've seen the links to Kissinger, we've seen the links of Kissinger to the Future of Russia Foundation, and here we've got an Italy China Foundation, which I cannot investigate because I can only look at the British business registers. Okay, China is totally owned by the G8 countries. Okay, here's Geithner, a predecessor at the Treasury in America. All of these people, since I became an activist, Geithner's mother was a Mayflower descendant. Yeah, that's the Pilgrim Fathers that came across with the True Love Wilsons that we talked about yesterday, from a New England family. Her father, Geithner's maternal grandfather, Charles Frederick Moore Jr., was an advisor to President Dwight D. Eisenhower and served as Vice President of Public Relations from 1952 to 1964 for Ford Motor Company, my family's first car in Britain. Okay, yeah, it's massive. And Tim Geithner, let's have a look at what it says at the top of his entry, was the 9th president of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. There he is, that's his mugshot, forced into resignation when we get active, exposing the massive global wealth divide plot. 75th United States Secretary of the Treasury, and preceded by Henry Paulson. Okay, 9th President of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Let's keep going down because there's a long list of tabs. Okay, Gottlieb, gun licenses. The gun lobby in America is massive. Charlton Heston was one of my great heroes because of the roles he plays as a pacifist and an inspiring warlord in war-torn Spain. Yeah, and what we've got here is another gun lobbyist, because Charlton Heston lost my support late in life because of his stance on the relentless issuing of guns to all US citizens, so that when they fall apart in their divided states and their divided leadership teams, they can create hell on this earth by shooting their neighbours, regardless of whether or not they're innocent or guilty of anything. Okay, it's like my trip to the seaside when we went to Woolworths and we played the role of the male gender through all of biological history. Okay, so Alan Merrill Gottlieb is educated in nuclear engineering in Los Angeles near Monterey, and that is Los Angeles, the Angels. University of Tennessee, Institute on Comparative Political and Economic Systems. Sinisterly, Georgetown University, where Barroso is trained by Kissinger. Spouse is Julianne Gottlieb, and he's a gun lobbyist for the whole of his life, and it's almost his sole source of income, because he's not as busy as the other bees in the Formula One sector globally, who speak 5 languages or thereabouts. Okay, next tab. This is a famous person. He's already on my website. He's trained as a Lubavitcher. I did not know so much until I revisited this page this week, that he's involved in massive munitions scandals. Okay, that's Stephen HARPER, trained as a Lubavitcher with George W. Bush, indoctrinated in the readings and writings and the Jewish workings of the Torah, gives away Canada's traditional niche market. No fight, but no deal yet. Poor old Conrad Black, who put him in power. Okay, Conrad Black is the man who's on the House of Lords in the UK. He's been convicted of corruption, but he's been loosed on the free world again. Yeah, and what this is about corrupted contracts involving vastly expensive weapons, like the F-35 plane that is depicted there with the maple leaf on the back. Yep, this is the country where Mark Carney comes from to run the central bank in England. Okay, the Lockheed F-35 Lightning II Canadian procurement is a defence procurement project of the Canadian government to purchase 65 of those in peacetime to police the free world. And when Prince Charles is in the vast vast Canadian tracts of land that still belong to the British monarchy, he says that Putin is a bigger menace to world peace than any other person since Hitler. And that day the World Economics Forum was being hosted by Putin in St. Petersburg in Russia. And this is what is going on in the warmongering side in peacetime in Canada. The F-35 procurement programme has been a source of considerable controversy in public policy circles in Canada since the federal government announced its intention to purchase the aircraft in 2010. That's the 65 aircraft. We do not get a price tab at this stage. Okay, so I'll let you look that up. There's the peacetime inaugural flight of those very expensive weapons. Wikinews has related news. That's Wikinews, the even more extreme set of cover-ups. Canada announces $9 billion plan to purchase 65 F-35 fighters. Goodness knows what the real cost was to the Canadian taxpayer, and goodness knows who the victims is of the might of their firepower. Yeah, I did not have time to highlight that, but I'm going to keep going down so that I can get you to the bottom tabs, and you can look up any of these articles or scandals that interests you on Wikipedia before they take it down. Harper climbed to power. Okay, this is about the political plants and the deviant trends that occur in politics in every nation across our globe. Yet there's a picture of Harper, and there's a Mountie in the background, the law enforcement sector. That's the lumberjacks in Canada who are doing okay. Yeah, and the stock market in Toronto, we exposed all of the massive frauds. Gordon Bowden tells us that they no longer allow the published details of directors and corrupted interlocks to be published and released to the people of the world. There's the Right Honourable Stephen HARPER, 22nd Prime Minister of Canada. Looks ever so innocent and friendly in peacetime. And Harper is an icon for angelic harp players who are in the Marx Brothers innocent looking sector, okay, and see no evil and speak no evil. That's Harpo Marx. Okay, monarch Elizabeth II, which is why Prince Charles is so well informed on who the biggest risks in our world are. Preceded by Grant Hill, Billy Graham, oh no, that's a different sect. Right then, and we've got the French connection, Jean Chrétien. That could be Cretin, but my French is not strong. And guess what? Born Toronto, Ontario. Right, let's move on, because it's all published. Harper was born in Toronto, the first of 3 sons of Margaret Johnson and Joseph Harris Harper. Joseph again. Okay, accountant at Imperial Oil. Yeah, that's the imperial presence that Prince Charles represents on the Canadian vast tracts of land. Right then. Next one is a chap called Holbrook. Died for the cause. This is back into Europe again. Involved in the East Timor controversy. That was where NATO's troops committed genocide in the South Pacific. Richard Charles Holbrook. Not sure what this guy's done. United States Special Envoy for Afghanistan and Pakistan, where we deploy the drones without ever declaring war. That's not we, because that is not NATO. The US does that unilaterally, and when they bring down one of the rivals in the terror sector, yeah, only all of that gets broadcast as a series of pictures of what is happening in the White House fraud team, yeah, with Hillary Clinton and Obama looking intently at the TV screen, and nobody gets to know what is on the TV screen, and nobody gets to interview Bin Laden's widow, who's in the building as Bin Laden gets taken down, and then conveniently they disappear the body off the back of a boat somewhere. Yeah, it is totally twisted. Bin Laden died in Islamabad of kidney failure several years before. Okay, I'm not sure what Holbrook died of, but I've not highlighted anything on it, but you can see that the links to the brutalization of other people's countries, in Afghanistan's case for the narcotics wealth and to sequester one of the last 3 central banks remaining on our globe. In Pakistan they just do it in case Pakistan gets onto the fact that they were partitioned by the Brits as a sectarian divide so that they could fall out with their Indian neighbours. They used to be a unified country, unified by the imperialist presence of the empire upon which the sun will set really soon, if I have my way. Okay, and that's Barack Obama who appointed him. He's the Peace Prize winner with no conscience. Okay, right then, King of Spain, next tab. And I think we'll know a lot of this story already, because this is the murderous King of Spain. House of Cards, shoots elephants and younger brothers. In March 1965, Juan Carlos's younger brother Alfonso died in a gun accident at the family's home Villa Giraldo in Estoril, Portugal. This is the King of Spain with the family home in a villa in Portugal. Okay, and the name Alfonso just happens to be one of the brothers in the El Cid movie. Yeah. Whilst His Highness Prince Alfonso was cleaning a revolver last evening with his brother, a shot was fired, hitting his forehead and killing him in a few minutes. The accident took place at 20:30 hours. After the Infanta's return from Maundy Thursday religious service, that's the Christianity Maundy Thursday religious fraud, during which he had received Holy Communion. That's turning the blood of the elder brother into a whining issue. Yeah, and it's about the succession into the monarchy in totally corrupted and fascist Spain, strictly neutral for profiteering reasons in all world wars, and the one particularly which was World War II, which is the biggest profiteering triumph of all. Rumours appeared in the newspapers that the gun had actually been held by Juan Carlos at the moment the shot was fired. Josefino Carollo, dressmaker to Juan Carlos's mother, said that Juan Carlos pointed the pistol at Alfonso and pulled the trigger, unaware that the pistol was loaded. Bernardo Arnoso, a Portuguese friend of Juan Carlos, also said that Juan Carlos fired the pistol not knowing that it was loaded, and adding that the bullet ricocheted off a wall, hitting Alfonso in the face. Helena Mathiopoulos, a Greek author who spoke with Juan Carlos's sister Pilar, said that Alfonso had been out of the room, and when he returned he pushed the door open. The door knocked Juan Carlos in the arm, causing him to fire the pistol, and hey presto, he's king and gets to sire some of Princess Diana's children. Educated, Juan Carlos spent a year in the naval school. Yeah, we've heard about the shenanigans in the navies involving Spain, involving France, and the Rothschilds controlled genocides of all of the innocent press-ganged naval people that were on those ships against their will with no other option. And we've heard about the prize-giving awards right into the conflicts beyond the American Revolution and the Boston Tea Party for sinking ships, and right into the Gallipoli and Crimean sector, and I believe also into the periods in World War I, World War II, and the Falklands concept, because these jokes are like having a wager on the horses, like all of the elites do in all of the stories released by P.G. Wodehouse, and all of them are portrayed as filthy rich buffoons who rely on their butler to make the big decisions. That's Jeeves. He's also in the war crimes limelight because he plays Butcher Haig in the Blackadder movies. Yeah. Okay, let's go down. So Gordon Bowden does not like to talk about religion or familicide because it's just a conspiracy theory. It's on the front page of every Spanish newspaper in the year 1956. Kenneth M. Jacobs, don't know what he's done, but let's find out. So this is the list of the 300 or so that we read out. I cannot believe that there were actually 300 names in that list and that I got through it as quickly. Kenneth M. Jacobs, 12 million a year and 36 million on retirement. Life policy cover. One does not know whether he has life policy cover. Ken M. Jacobs is the chairman and chief executive officer of Lazard since November 16th, 2009, the year after the banks were involved in the crashing of the global economy and were remunerated by the governments at the time. Okay, he was selected to succeed Bruce Wasserstein after Wasserstein died October 14th, 2009. Okay, and it's just massive. Look at the bonuses they get, the biography. So let's look at his education. He joined Lazard in 1988 after graduating from Stanford Graduate School of Business in 1991. Jacobs was named a Lazard partner. In 2002, Jacobs was named Deputy Chairman of Head of North America for Lazard. He also focused on bringing in new staff specialising in power and energy and technology and healthcare. That's the healthcare fraud, the Obamacare fraud, the energy frauds, all of the frauds which have been taking place since Bush ran the scams with Bill Gamel's father in the Bush-Overby scandal. It's false oil and gas, and that leads to the killing of Motley Flint in the courtroom, and that gets the launch of the Hanna-Barbera characters in the cartoon sector, and Muttley covers Motley Flint and his links to the Zionist media in Hollywood. Compensation. The definitive proxy statement for Lazard, filed on March the 20th, 2012, indicates that in 2011 Jacobs had a salary of $900,000 with a bonus of $2.68 million. Isn't that good? Yeah, when all of the scams are crashing all of the banks globally. As one of Lazard's executive officers, he also received a stock award worth $8.8 million that was related to Lazard's 2010 performance, and more than $40,000 in other compensation, bringing his total compensation for the year to $12,422,000. The same document indicates that Jacobs is entitled to $32 million in severance pay were he to resign from Lazard for good reason, or were he to be involuntarily terminated without cause. In the report, the company's board underscored measures that tie compensation to performance. I'm to be stripped of half of my home because my wife and her brother run their business in the Chipping Norton region, where the Prime Minister's constituency in Whitney is part of their postcode. And that's the Whitney Houston killings, all of the cover-ups involving Whitney Harris, who is the inquest chair for the war crimes at Nuremberg, and all of it leads to the persecution of the innocents and the remuneration of the financial planners of the global economic crash. It was not an accident. Right then, Lazard links to I did not get time to highlight any of this. Oh la la. Yeah, this is globalized fraud now. Amsterdam, Atlanta, Bahrain, Beijing, Brussels, Bogota, Bordeaux, Boston, Buenos Aires, Charlotte, Chicago, Dallas, Dubai, Frankfurt, Hamburg, Hong Kong, Houston, Lima, London, Los Angeles, Lyon, Madrid, Melbourne, Milan, Minneapolis. That's the little apple joke. Min, the witchcraft little apple joke. The Jewish angel little apple joke. Montevideo, Montreal, Mumbai, New York, Panama City, Paris, Perth, Riyadh, San Francisco, Sao Paulo, Santiago, Seoul, Singapore, Stockholm, Sydney, Tokyo, Toronto, Washington DC, Zurich, strictly neutral for profiteering reasons, and the red cross is inverted to a white cross for cowardice. Right then, so what is this one? This is Lazard links to, oh, it's the Lazard dynasty. Wow. Alexander, Ellie and Simon. Yeah, it's just a profiling of the Lazard dynasty. So that is their headquarters in New York. The location is 30 Rockefeller Center, New York City, New York. Have you heard of the Rockefellers before? Tom Hanks is one of those. Yeah, and his wife, since I reported the Time Team frauds and the frauds of the woman who had accidentally both her breasts removed because her misdiagnosis of cancer was fudged by a doctor in the interlocking directorates that they run out of Jesus College, Cambridge. Yeah, okay, so let's keep going down because we've got more to cover. This is a massive financial dynasty. They're the big money lenders across the world for all of human history, and they're involved in massive geopolitical scams, and the buildings are Babylonian to declare their might and their power base. Okay, we're getting down to the bottom third. Not sure what that was. Julius Caesar of Global Economics, Chatham House. Now, we mentioned Chatham House this morning, and we mentioned the links of that to the royal institution, the royal labels, and the geopolitical manipulation, but we did not focus on what Chatham House does. I would like you to look that up, and I'll give you the links to the various websites in the descriptor for this video. Okay, so what we've got here is Dame Deanne Shirley Julius. Now, I don't remember what this story is because I did not open it this morning before I started making the first video, but let's just have a look at her profile. So she's educated at Iowa State University and the University of California with a MA and a PhD as a postgraduate. Her nationality is described as American British. She's born in 14th April 1949, and her occupation to make an honest living is an economist. Okay. So the Bath University is the student loans woman, Glenys Breakwell, and the other university that I couldn't remember for Dame Helen Alexander is the University of Southampton. Yeah, so she's an economist from 1970 to the present, Royal Institute of International Affairs. This is an American person, okay, and she's American British, but they've got a Royal Institute to run. Okay, board member of Jones Lang LaSalle, Deloitte and Touche, Serco Group plc, Roche Holdings AG, that's the pharma sector, BP, which is the oil sector, run by Lonro, run by Lord Patton, run by Al Fayed and all of the scamsters, Puma Energy Zambia plc, run by Tiny Rowlands. Dame Deanne Shirley Julius, intelligence analyst for the CIA and an American British economist. Do you get it? The SOE in wartime employ the Hambros, they employ the massive banksters so that all of the money from all of the participant countries can be put safely into the Swiss vaults, which is where Roche work. Roche have a massive factory in Basel, where the central bank is, and where I used to work for Ciba-Geigy, with the German boss with all of the chattels and war treasures in his massive mansion when he took me to dinner as a nascent capitalist in the capitalist dream that is Switzerland, strictly neutral for expertise reasons in capitalism. Okay, so Dame Deanne Shirley Julius is an American British economist, notable as founder member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of England, which is supposed to be the democratic funding vent for all democratic initiatives all across Britain and Ireland. Who share, even in the Republic of Ireland, the British pound. She began her active career as a project economist with the World Bank in Washington and has handled extensive roles in the private sector, along with the funding of democracy in inverted commas. Yeah, since July 2003 she is the chairman of the Chatham House geopolitical manipulation sector in the Royal Institution, formerly known as the Royal Institute of International Affairs, which is RIIA, kind of like the IRA. She is currently a non-executive director of BP and Roche Holdings Limited and vice president of the Society of Business Economists. She also sits on the board of Jones Lang LaSalle. Do you get it? She was educated with a BSc in economics at Iowa State, MA and PhD University of California, honorary doctorates from the University of Warwick, where they have the obligatory war crimes rules that you read the script or we will top you too. University of Birmingham, South Bank University, University of Bath, Glenys Breakwell, student fees, fraudsters, members of the Russell Group, Taze Russell, part of the religious fraud in the town called Taze, in the Garden of Eden, now the Yemen. After graduating, she began her career at the CIA as the economic analyst from 1970 to 71. In 75, after earning her PhD, she's working for the CIA as she works on her PhD. So she gets a doctorate in fraud, and she gets paid by the Intel organization that imposes the fraud on all other countries across the globe now, and even the electoral scandals that Jim Fetzer was shocked by but would not let me talk about religion. Okay, Julius went to work as a project economist with the World Bank in Washington DC from 86 until 1997. She held a succession of posts including chief economist at British Airways and Royal Dutch Shell. That's the Royal Dutch monarchs that were Nazis in wartime and run the Royal Dutch Shell and the whole of the aircraft industry through Schiphol. Okay, from September 1997 to May 2001, she was a full-time member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of England and sat on the court of the Bank of England until May 2004. Isn't it useful to be an Anglo-American establishment figure? She chaired HM Treasury's Banking Services Consumer Codes Review Group in 2000 to 2001. Julius has been chairman of the Chatham House Geopolitical Manipulation Institute since 2003. In October 2008, just after the banks had been crashed globally, she joined Jones Lang LaSalle's board of directors. She gets honoured for her services to royal frauds and to stealing from democracies globally and particularly transatlantically. Okay, she was chairman of the Royal Institute of International Affairs right up from 2003 to 2012. Yeah, no criminal implications for anyone involved of the crashing of the global banks and the remuneration from the puppet politicians from the treasuries that are owned by the same people. Are you beginning to see how they spiral us into poverty as the ordinary working people and the ordinary working professoriate, who are proud of everything they have done to and with their students through all of their period of service in the university sector? Okay, she is a non-executive director of Roche Holdings and Jones LaSalle Inc. Julius was appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire CBE in 2002 and Dame Commander of the Order of St Michael the Jewish Angel and St George the non-existent saint who slew the dragon, which is the erect penis most of the time. In 2013, New Year honours for services to international relations. She has a personal life and she is married to a Mr Harvey. That's the puka joke. Okay, that's the big ears, that's the bunny rabbits joke. Formerly chief executive of British Technology Group plc, BTG plc, she is the author of 5 books and academic papers on subjects ranging from foreign direct investment to strategic planning and corporate governance. Shall I look her up on the company register in the UK? I'll do it later. No, let's add some atmosphere to the investigative journalist sector. Did we get enough middle names to pin her to the wall? Okay, I'll keep going down. So that is highlighted as Julius Caesar. Of global banking. And what was our extended name? So let's just read out the other names on there. This Glenys Kinoch really interests me. John Kerry is in the Foreign Office now. He replaced the Rices. Okay, and Glenys Kinoch, I'm going to have a look at her, because that is an intriguing linkage to the British frauds and the British parliamentarians. Ooh, she's a dumb blonde. Ah, fuck. She's in Boateng's role, Minister of State for Africa and the United Nations. The Right Honourable the Baroness Kinoch of Holyhead. Look at the postscript. This is the something to do with the royals, but that is the same fellow of the royal. No, let's have a look further down. And I've discovered that my postnominals as a fellow of the Royal Pharmaceutical Society is also part of the massive financial sector frauds. Yeah, it's an acronym and a postnominal for the thieves in her sector. Okay, Minister of State for Africa between 2009 to May 2010. Very brief period in office, only 6 months. This is the outgoing regime for Tony Blair, the socialist. Yeah, which is why the Kinochs still have the power base to be icons of empire. Okay, preceded by the Lord Malloch Brown, Prime Minister Gordon Brown, succeeded by Henry Bellingham. He's involved in massive crimes in the African frauds as well, and a lot of those involve mercenary armies and illicit munitions. Okay, Minister for Europe. Isn't it great? You're in the gravy train and you can ride it all the way into Fort Knox. European Parliament for Wales, South Wales East. Alma Mater, Cardiff University, where many of my students followed me loyally across from New Zealand, just to keep an eye on what I would do beyond my academic period. And their dad is the head of the Education Ministry in Wellington and sells his country to the British monarchy and the Governor General, and he's Irish and he's called Connolly like Billy the ordinary working man. The dad's name is Martin, and he's like a parasite for all of the time that I work in New Zealand, and they keep a close eye on everything they do that I do as an outspoken activist for freedom. Right then, Glenys Elizabeth Kinoch, Baroness Kinoch and Baroness Kinoch of Holyhead, born Glenys Elizabeth Parry, is a British politician. Okay, so there's nothing really sinister. That is just the way to power as you cuddle up to your political rivals. And when we were competing for one of the prizes in academia in New Zealand, it was us against the mathematicians, and the man who made the telling decision was a former leader of the Lib Dems in Britain, just returned to a lucrative retirement in New Zealand. I forget what his name is. Yeah, none of the Kiwis recognised him. I knew his face because he's a profiteer in the geopolitical sector for decades, when I was a relatively wealthy young man who owned my own home in Hertfordshire before I met my wife. Okay, Kissinger Henry. I did not know that he had a financial services background, but let's have a wee look. Wow. That's just the references. Yeah, this is the world's biggest killer. He's got the icon for power that I had on the other day. He is actually a German. I pretended to be a German the other day. Yet he's the highest ranking Mossad officer in the US. He's the world's biggest killer. His roots are in Germany. Yeah, and his wife is much taller than he is. Oh, Christopher Hitchens, the man who wrote about the power of God and then suddenly found himself being dead. Okay. Oh, and Nixon. Yeah, this is the narcotics empire, the genocides in South America, the absolute brutality all across the Pacific Rim in the Golden Triangle, and Nixon leads that, and his only crime in the whole of his life is electoral fraud. This is the man that is running Mossad for the Israelis as their highest ranking officer, as a German, in the Secretary of State's role, and the Nobel Peace Prize winner in America. He's on the board of the Future of Russia Foundation with the Rothschilds, and the whole of it is absolutely evil. Okay, I do not have time to go through the whole of Henry Kissinger's life in crime and killing, but it is ruthless. Okay, I'm going to go down and see if we can find, yeah, look him up. It is absolutely massive. He is the world's biggest killer and a Nobel Peace Laureate. And I believe, since we put the pressure on him and exposed that he trained Barroso, that one of the people in the UN peace delegations, I forget what his name is a direct body double for him, and it could well be him. Lassisi or something his name is. Okay, so Barnevik, ABBA, Sweden. So this is the launch of the man who plays darts. Yeah, very similar to the name Barnevik. Yeah, he's Dutchman, a Dutch dart player. This one, Percy Nils Barnevik, is a Swedish business executive, best known as CEO and later chairman of Asia Brown Boveri AB. Yeah, Saint Ab. Yeah, ABBA, the launch of the massive scandal that is the joke about the ownership of the central bank in London after the victory at Waterloo, which won ABBA the song contest. ABBA is actually a religious joke and part of the Piso fraud. I do not have time to explain that to you again. Look up George Lees and Abelard Reuchlin and Faking the New Testament on either YouTube or on my website, and you'll find out how the ABBA fraud is the Christianity fraud as well. Okay? And for being the centre of a giant pension dispute that shook Sweden in 2003. Way before the global banking collapse, Sweden is also strictly neutral, and we talked about Sweden yesterday when we talked about the sister ship for the Caradoc being the Cassandra, which is a joke about familicide in the Swedish royal family for power broking reasons. Okay? And we've got a mention to Gothenburg and the Gutenberg Bible. It's really sinister. Yeah, some of the places in Sweden are part of the scenes for the former Norse god myths. Yeah, and I cannot see anything highlighted on this. Okay, so he's competing against industry leaders such as General Electric and US Steel. And I've been to Sweden a couple of times for pharma interviews. They have big pharma companies up there. I did not get the job. I have no regrets. Here we go. In 1979 he joined ASEA, Okay, look at what he's got before that. General Electric and US Steel. 1980 to 87, A.C. Brown Bovary. He was chairman of Sandvik 1983 to 2002, chairman of Skanska 1992 to 97, investor AB 1997 to 2002, chairman of AstraZeneca, where I was interviewed, 1999 to 2004, chairman of AB 96 to 2002, member of board of DuPont, that's a massive pharmaceutical company in the US of A, 1991 to 98, member of the board of General Motors, another massive boardroom, 96 to 2009, Bilderberg Group attendee. Okay, I'm going to keep going down in case the batteries run out. Peter Sutherland. So that's the Sutherlands of the colonists to the colonies again, the stealing bread, the people that run the cotton plantations earlier on in this listing in the first video. And here we have the one who becomes the boss at the World Trade Organization and also becomes the boss at the UN. Yeah, also the boss at the RBS for a long time. Yeah, along with the McKillops. Kind of sinister looking character, but quite plump and quite proud of his pinstripes and his Rotarian badge. So this is the GATT is the World Trade Organization. His predecessor was Arthur Dunkel. His alma mater is Irish, and he's educated at University College Dublin. That's in the Republic. Okay, Peter Dennis Sutherland is an Irish international businessman and former Attorney General of Ireland. That's the head of law enforcement, associated with the Fine Gael party, part of the European People's Party bloc. He is a barrister by profession. It's the law, Dad. And is also senior counsel at the Irish Bar. He is also known for serving in a variety of business and political roles. It does not say self-service, take my word for it. University College Dublin Law School to be named the Sutherland Law School of Law following the completion of its rebuilding in 2012 when they changed the laws of succession in the UK. He's a chairman of Goldman Sachs International. Yeah, I think we've done enough. Yeah, these are household names. They're part of the banking crash in 2008, and all of it is a master plan to steal from the people without their vaguest insight. Speaking with Garrett Fitzgerald, Irish politician, and Will Hutton at the Institute of European Affairs in Dublin in 2006. The Institute of European Affairs. Okay, Hong Kong, Chief Executive's Council of International Advisors. That's Hong Kong, where at the same time Lord Patton is profiteering, and the David Cameron's dad is launching, I think, the Honkers and Shonkers Bank, but I might be wrong about that. It's not part of this particular story. He produced the Sutherland report for the Portuguese government on the handover of Macau to China in January 2000. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We'll go to Jacob Lew. Bain and Company. Now when I was at Imperial, oh no, here we go, 25th White House Chief of Staff, Jack Lew. Hamilton Plan Architect, Executioner, Perfect Pedigree. Not sure what the meaning of that is. It's ages since I put this portfolio together on the Club of 300 or the Committee of 300 or whatever they call themselves. Yet not many people are allowed to know about when this list was published, and I have no idea when the list was published. And you can see that it's taken us reasonably far back into the early noughties, but not many of the stories take us right up into 2014, 2015. Okay, he is from Monongalia, Native American city, meaning falling banks. They all have a massive, highly tuned sense of humour. Yeah, and the Mitchell word, the McHale word, is in it everywhere. Okay, the Monongalan tribe was also indigenous to the area prior to the settlement of the city. President was Barack Obama when he was appointed. White House Chief of Staff. Okay, head of Bain Capital. Defence Secretary for Management and Resources. Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources. Knides joined Fannie Mae as Senior Vice President of Human Resources in 1998. That's Fannie Mae that collapsed in the real estate crisis. From 2005 to 2010, he was Chief Operating Officer of Morgan Stanley. Yeah, everything that moves, they steal it. From February 1993 to 94, Lew served as Special Assistant to the President under President Clinton, who got me shut down the other day. He's the one who's doing the global warming frauds, the global education frauds, and you can see what the educators do in the economic sector. And all of the resignations from all of the Russell Group members all across the UK is now beginning to stun my former colleagues, who realise that if the students are given their money back, and if the government gives its money back into the democratic funding issues, that everybody could have a life in every sector of research, journalism, and the ordinary working man's job. Yeah, everybody could have a prosperous life. Lew was responsible for policy development and the drafting of the National Service Initiative Healthcare Reform. That's the Obamacare scandals. Okay, right then. Expert on personal gain in economic collapse and student impoverishment. I do not think that's a joke. That is actually the Wikipedia entry for what this man does. Okay, White House Chief of Staff in the Clinton and Obama administrations, involved in real estate, economic and student impoverishment. House Speaker to Tip O'Neill. Okay, let's get on to the other three tabs so that we can finish on time. And the word Hamilton takes us back into central Scotland again and again and again. That's the Hess dynasty, the Park buses, the Park hotels empire. Hamilton plan now, yes, now pleading for Europe to hang together in the noughties after slaughtering its citizens for cash for a century or so. Okay, I'm not sure what this is. Robert Rubin, Director and Chairman of the Executive Committee Citigroup Inc. The Reverend Jim Wallace, Founder, Sojourners, Author, God's Politics. So this is on the list of people that are in the Club of 300. I'm not sure whether Jim Wallace was there or whether it was only Robert Rubin, but this is the religious interplay between the profiteering. I'm going to go to the next one because it intrigues me, and you know all about my disclosures on Britain's former Chancellor in the Thatcherian era. Right then, this is Norman Lamont, the Orcadian, the tax haven expert, the man who crashed our real estate in the 1990s and gave us the negative equity crisis. Okay, he's on the board, he's on the list of the Club of 300, Baron Lamont of Lerwick, the Right Honourable Lord Lamont of Lerwick. He's got a very complicated name, on the Business Register. Took me ages to find it. Chancellor of the Exchequer between 1990 and 93 under John Major, and by the other person on this list in the Club of 300, Kenneth Clarke, the Minister without portfolio, Chief Secretary of the Treasury under Margaret Thatcher. John Major succeeded by David Mellor. Thatcher again, Financial Secretary to the Treasury, Member of Parliament for Kingston upon Thames. Right then, I don't think there will be many surprises, because we know all about him on the NM Rothschild Banks boards and all about what he does. At Cambridge he was a contemporary of Michael Howard, Kenneth Clarke, Leon Britton, he's died recently, as a paedophilia scandal, and John Gummer, all of whom become leading figures in the Conservative Party. The group were sometimes collectively known as the Cambridge Mafia. That's the Cambridge that we talk about in every second video, in a war crimes context, in a religious fraud and massive jokes about religions. And I was going to tell you about Khartoum and the Wilson and Betty and Keble scandals from evangelists in the Cambridge University sector. Okay, that's the brutalisation of Egypt and the taking the piss out of the people that walk like Egyptians. Before entering Parliament he worked for NM Rothschilds and Sons, and he still works for it for a long time, like General Sir Charles Guthrie, the man who brutalised the Balkans and Iraq. The investment bank became director of Rothschild Asset Management. This is the Chancellor of the UK. We've done all of this in multiple videos, so I'm going to go to the British Rich List, or whatever that last tab is. Okay, Norman Lamont is all over my YouTube videos. Yeah, and now let's have a wee look at this, because we've got Lamont currently, in addition to his role as a working peer, working really hard on his tax haven concept, is a director of and a consultant to various companies in the financial sector. He is director of the hedge fund company RAB Capital, Balai Group PLC, Commodities Trading House, and he is an advisor to Roch Property Group, the real estate negative equity sector in which he excels in stealing from the people and the mortgage holders. He is also a director of a number of investment funds. In December 2008 he joined the board of Forum, an online behavioural advertising company, and he is a non-executive director of Bali Group PLC and the honorary president of the British Romanian Chamber of Commerce and the chairman of the British Iranian Chamber of Commerce. One of the last central banks to go on this earth, and this is the man that steals in league with the Rothschilds, educated at Loreto School in Musselburgh. Yeah, that's Musselburgh. Charlton Heston visited Musselburgh, and the MP there is in the Better Off Together movement. Yeah, and I started my career in pharmacy in the Musselburgh pharmacy in the High Street. Okay, and there's all the interlocks to John Boyd Carpenter, Edward Heath, the Civil Aviation Authority, House of Lords, and his aggrandisement to serve as a criminal in both chambers on behalf of the Rothschilds, the world owners. What have we got? We've got an accusation that this is a rich list, but I cannot find the post. This quite often happens on OneNote when you post something and you've got more than one column of information. Yeah, it gets twisted like that. So let's have a little play with the new tab and see if we can get company check and find that woman. Yeah, the woman who's Anglo-American. Right then, what was her name? Was it the one where we had Julius Caesar? Because I missed out John Kerry. He replaced, I think it was Hillary Clinton that was the foreign secretary before she broke her ankle. Yeah, so this is Dame Deanne Shirley Julius. That should be easy to find, shouldn't it? Dame Deanne Shirley Julius. So go to company check. I usually look this up on Google, but they're picking me up here. Okay. No, I'm not going to be able to get it. Companies House UK. If we could get into Google. Google web search, that should do it. Sorry. No, they don't want me to go to company search. Let's go up to the top so that we don't have to use the search engine. Company check. Bazinga! I hope we've got enough batteries left. Okay, so the woman's name was Julia. What was it? It was Dame Deanne Shirley Julius. So enter the name in the top. Dame Deanne Shirley Julius. Yeah, the Deanne bit is going to scupper us. Deanne. Yes, it did. Deanne Shirley Julius. not going to get it. The other way, if I had more time, would be to go back to her registered company and find her as a director on there, and then we've got part of her portfolio, but this person is not listed here. Shirley Julius. Dr. Deanne Shirley Julius. That could be her, she's got the PhDs. No postcode available. 1 St James's Square, London. The suspense is killing me. Circle Group, this is her. Lloyds Banking Group, Lloyds Bank PLC. Oh, Lloyds Bank, did we mention them before? Let's have a closer look before the batteries run out. Okay, so Dr. Deanne Shirley Julius. Now we know how to spell it, we'll get away with it, and we know to look for the doctor. Okay, and there's our holdings. Circle Group, right up to 2008. Circle are involved in human trafficking, and a lot of their stuff is talked about border control issues and diasporas involving Home Secretaries, Theresa May, massive scandals. Field McConnell and the Able Danger people cover that ground handsomely. Lloyds Banking Group PLC, Lloyds Bank PLC, National Institute of Economic and Social Research. We'll have a look at that, because that's where all the fraudsters interlock in the geopolitical scandals. British Airways Pension Investment Management, my Institute of Development Studies, the BE Pension Fund Trustees Limited, BP PLC, from 2002 right up to 2011. British Airways Pension Trustees Limited. Okay, a very interesting set of boardrooms. If we were to look at her interlocks, we would find some immensely powerful people. Let's have a quick go at that before the batteries run out. Okay, when you want to do this, you look at the transcript for the person, you go to directors immediately, and you get the interlocks on all of those companies of all of the directors who work with her to steal from the people, both sides of the Atlantic. And the pension funds, that story is an absolute disaster. So here's the Circle Group PLC, and we're going to go down. I want all of you to learn how to do this and to find out who your local politicians are who are corrupting your neighbourhood, and who your national and European representatives are. And we've got a Crosby, Mr. Ralph Dozier Crosby Jr. Okay, a Lyons, a Coburn, Casey Jr. The Casey name is massive, because that is the head of, I think it's the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, and he's the man who thinks that his mission as the head of the FBI will be finished when everything that America believes is a lie. And that's the man who launches the Casey at the Dentist's gramophone record comedies, When I'm Just a Boy, On the Balfour's Farm. Yeah, Tamara Ingram, the Right Honourable Rupert Christopher Soames. That's the fat bloke that Field McConnell talks about all the time, and is a relative of the fat bloke that was Winston Churchill. Okay, right then.